Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Wednesday, August 27th. Kind of a different video today. Two things happened. There was a lot of great things sent to me on Instagram. The majority of ways that I get messages from people is on Instagram. And I got a bunch of videos from that. A bunch of things to look at. And then there's this excellent video by Chris Hayes about Trump's some of his people that he's pardoned and stuff like that, right? And so I want to get to that, and just a whole bunch of things like that. And then I hadn't got to the comment section. I haven't read any of the comments in about 3 days, and there's just a lot of good comments, not all negative comments that I usually cover, and just questions and things I want to answer. So that's this video here. It's going to be kind of a different video than I usually do. But let's start here.
Hi, welcome to Taco Bell. What can I get started for you today?
Can I get 18,000 water cups, please?
Okay. What can I get for you?
That's just great. Self-explanatory. And then there's this one.
Hey, now before I shift you on this beautiful morning into your breakfast break, there's a few things that I needed to discuss with you guys. Now yesterday, I'm not too sure who it was, but I saw them on the other side of the fucking fence. Why were you over there? That's not a good enough excuse, don't let me see it happen again. Now when I open the reel, go around the bit that I've opened, okay? Yeah, don't go straight through the fucking fence, okay? Now we're going to the cow shed tomorrow. We are going to the cow shed tomorrow.
Cow shed.
Okay? And you guys are going to learn how to use it. And it is a friendly place. And you guys are to treat it with respect. Now let's go and have our breakfast.
That's great. Cows are very curious animals. So then there was this. Will Smith posted this video here, which clearly an AI-generated crowd. He has this song, I Like Pretty Girls. I've covered Will Smith for a number of years. Will Smith, Tom Hanks, and Ellen DeGeneres are all people who are given just totally AI-generated. You can tell by the way they're acting and the way that they look, and just the whole thing. So he was given a good guy narrative, the good guy moniker, and it was clearly that he had some. Look at this kid. Why is this kid? Look at this kid with the Oakland Raiders hat. Right? Now this is about story all about how you changed my son's son and a disease. I always love you. Take us back to Bel Air. Just the way that she was. See how the way that there's just an AI. This is the AI. Look at this woman here. She's having a fucking spiritual moment at it. Will, you can make it. Helped me survive cancer. Thanks, Will. He helped her survive cancer. It's that, he's helping with cancer. He's curing cancer, this guy. And so it was clearly that he had some moments where he was, not moments, he had some, he's either bisexual or gay. And I'm not going to put my compilation up here, but I've covered him so much. And he was so bad that his ex-manager came out and talked about seeing him getting plowed from behind by some other dude. He said the guy was murdering him from behind. You guys remember that? And in an interview. And so then he had to come up with this horrible song called I Like Pretty Girls. Because he was kind of outed. And then now he's trying to make this comeback, but he's such a desperate person. And the other category I would put him in is with Madam Expiration Date Madonna. Somebody who, both of them were at the top of the celebrity board. They were like the number one celebrities for a period of time. and then they weren't, and they couldn't handle it. Like they desperately need to be fed by the audience. But he's very insecure, and now he's having to resort to AI generated content and talk about how he's curing cancer and shit. So this is great. This is where AI really has done us a good deed here. Where they've twisted her smile a little bit like Herman Munster's, and then just the whole thing. But this is wonderful. Just, speaks for itself. Okay, so then there's this.
Linguist, translator, and cryptologic technician. Linguist, translator, and cryptologic technician.
So, I'm a little bit less harsh about verbal miscues because I make them all the time. Like, I edit them out here, but if I did a live video, I'd say stuff like, mispronounce things, and I still do it. Like, sometimes you guys hear it. You sometimes struggle with words because you just talk a lot. Once in a while, you're just, it seems like you glitch out or whatever. Anybody who, if you saw the unedited, the things they edit out of movies and TV shows, people make mistakes. And Trump's dyslexic, which, I am also. And so, but, he can't really read 3-syllable words. This was something that one guy who was, he did the live Apprentice shows, and he did the live.
What do you think about Bill Maher? I can't.
So usually I would put the thing on mute and let it play, which I'll do here. But you see what happened, that YouTube just interrupted me playing a video when I had on pause. Because, geez, how desperate are they? Push out their shit, right? But anyways, I'm a little bit more, generous with verbal errors. But Trump is, this guy said that, this guy who worked for him said that Trump would spaz out when he had to read like 3-syllable words, and he made it like they were trying to get him. Like they were trying to fuck him over, right? Because he's, he just can't read. And we've seen that when he was, that video I showed you, an old video where like Larry King or somebody was asking him what books he's read. It was that guy, whatever his name was, that old Irish guy, Pat something or other. And he just doesn't read books. Like he can't quote the Bible, and so the whole thing is, he just isn't thoughtful. Doesn't read, and he doesn't listen to people either. So if someone was going to read something to him, he would he wouldn't be able to listen to them. He's got a very short attention span. So then this was how this was originally sent to me. So this was how the person originally sent me this clip. One of my viewers sent me this, and then I found the original, or at least the shorter version of it. But these two women, I've seen them before. This is I've Had It podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, listen to the President of the United States.
As a linguist, translator, and cryptologic.
Is such a moron. Just amazes me that the media, legacy media, thinks we're so stupid that they can just keep talking about Joe Biden when this guy, it's not even comparable.
No.
And I'm not saying that Joe Biden hadn't, aged and was showing signs of slowing down and, really searching for words. This is like a combination of blackout drunk, full-blown dementia, I just ate an edible, and I'm a dipshit. All rolled into one.
So these two ghouls, these hags, they have the audacity. She has the audacity to say the word legacy media and then saying Joe Biden was better than Trump. Now, Trump is definitely falling apart. Like he's gotten old and he's not as coherent as he used to be. But Joe Biden had Parkinson's for years. Joe Biden in 2020, in 2019, when he started to run for president, was worse than Trump is now. Like, he was bad. And he was just I have that video of the Parkinson's guy that was on MSNBC. And so these women really love Joe Biden. They talk about the legacy media just like Don Lemons does. Like they're like part of the truth community. Like, they want to get on board with this whole thing that they're, the legacy media, this whole bullshit stuff that they say. And I guess that's a term for these people who want to be, like Joe Rogan light. Like, she's much worse than Joe Rogan. Because anybody claiming that Joe Biden was better than Trump in terms of his cognitive ability and his ability to speak is, it's batshit crazy or just out and out liar. And so you can't talk about the legacy media if your take is that Joe Biden was, he was slowing down a little bit. He had full-blown dementia. Plus, we now know he had prostate cancer. So, it's these people who are now on the internet pretending to be truthers, right? And they're Democrats, and like, you have nothing to say. Like, Trump is horrible. And what he's doing now, everything that he's doing now has everything to do with Joe Biden. Without Joe Biden's 4 years, Trump doesn't do what he's doing now. Because while Joe Biden was president, there was a Trump army being built. And, of the people that are now in positions of power. And, Trump also trying to be a truther, like a fake truther. And them all attacking the media. Now, the media sucks, but the media now is so much better because they can just tell the truth, because Trump is doing everything that they said, because they set it up by electing a guy with full-out dementia, Joe Biden, right? And these hags, pretending that they're part of the truth community. Okay, so I got back from the new dentist, and kind of good news, mostly good news, which I'm not going to share here, but I'll talk about tomorrow. And I did the audio at the end of this video already, and I forgot to say something I wanted to say about these two hags. And you see it with Don Lemons, and you see it with all the so-called legacy media and all these other people, that Trump is an idiot. They claim Trump is an idiot. At the same time, they're claiming that he's some sort of a mastermind dictator who is taking over the country and the world. And both things can't be true, right? Either the guy's a complete buffoon, which he is, or he's a mastermind, which he's not. Because he's being propped up. If they wanted Trump to be busted, they would bust him, put him in jail. If they wanted to kill him, they would kill him. If they didn't want him to be president, they would rig it against him. It's left-right paradigm 101. If he's president, it's because they want him to be president. If he's doing these things with the terrorists and all these other things, bringing in martial law, it's because they want him to do it. Maybe other people wouldn't do it. Maybe other people couldn't do it, right, in terms of managing their party the way they are. All these things, as you'll see with the Chris Hayes thing coming up, he pardoned all these people, and every one of the pardons would be a scandal. His demoting Ghislaine Maxwell to a lesser prison, which I get into at the end of this video, would be a scandal, right? And so he's Teflon in that way, where he does all these horrible things, and the left-wing media that covers him tells everyone how great he is. Fox just out and out lies to their dopes and hides away what Trump's doing. But the people in controlling the system are obviously allowing him to do this and wanting him to do this, right? And so he's only effective as the people who control the system are allowing him or pushing him into doing these things. He's really stupid, but he's smart about some things. He's smarter than his followers, right? His dumb fuck followers. And he's, good at scams and some criminal activity, but he's not a mastermind. Like, he's not getting away with something. He's being propped up. And, the people who are propping him up include the Democratic leadership, who give him cover, the mainstream media that supplies all the things that he needs to, the ammo he needs to feed to his dopes. And so they're all complicit in this, right? The Operation Trump. This is Operation Chaos, right? Operation Trump. He's taking down the system. So then there was this. This video came out last night. And well, let's see here.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Donald Trump, the president of these United States, wants to be a dictator. He is trying to be a dictator. He said it multiple times this week. Today he explained why a lot of people, I think in his own head, think he should be a dictator because he's stopping all the crimes.
So the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime.
Okay, so, yeah, that's problematic because he says things where he says a lot of people say this. And nobody says, oh, he's a dictator, but he stops crime. Like, nobody fucking says that. And then a lot of people, he's saying, well, if he stops crime, I'd rather have a dictator. Because he doesn't stop crime because, this thing with Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, it's going to come up here. Let me just talk about when it comes up here. But it's, he's not about stopping crime because the number one crime that people want him to stop, or the number one thing they want him to do is Jeffrey Epstein. That's a promised thing from most of his cabinet and his sons, talked about it and, everybody wanted it and they campaigned on it. And now he's protecting her and the people around her. The worst of the worst, the so-called elite, are getting away with this, right?
Yes, Donald Trump, tough on crime. It just depends on who's doing the crime, doesn't it? Beyond all his administration's lies and the mobilization of federal law enforcement in Los Angeles and Washington and members of the U.S. military, Donald Trump is the most unabashedly pro-criminal, pro-crime president of my lifetime. In fact, I started compiling this list of all the people that Donald Trump has pardoned or come to the aid of just since taking office in January, and it is mind-boggling. On his first day in office, Donald Trump pardoned every last one of the January 6th insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol and attempted a coup against the U.S. government on his behalf.
Okay, so the January 6th thing is whatever it is. It's all fucked up. Trump was baited into doing this thing. Either he participated willingly or he got baited into it. I think he got baited into it because he doesn't seem like he's that good of an actor. But he brought the people up there, and it was obviously something that they wanted him to do, the powers that be. And there was all these FBI informants that were a part of this thing and, the whole thing, the way it went down. But then he turned on these people. Remember, these two clips where he came out and he denounced the people that he set up. And then he came back around and pardoned them, and people are like, all right, you've done the right thing now. Trumpers. But he didn't do the right thing all around. He got worked so bad by the COVID debacle and then the election with Operation Warp Speed. So, of course, our take on this is different than this clown's. There's a couple of people on this list that I'm not offended by, but some of them not that I'm offended by any of it, but, we have a different opinion of it. But still, he pardoned all these people. They weren't insurrectionists, but many of them did things that were criminal in nature, right?
Roughly 1,500 convicted or suspected accused criminals. They included hundreds who were handed lengthy sentences for very serious felonies, such as assaulting police with deadly weapons. Many of those rioters have had, maybe you won't be shocked to hear this, serious brushes with the law since they were pardoned. Andrew Tate is one example. He used a metal whip and bear spray to assault police officers at the Capitol. He was sentenced to 6 years after bragging about these crimes to a woman on a dating app. 2 weeks after being pardoned by Trump and freed from prison, he was arrested in Texas for soliciting a minor for sex.
So, this is an Epstein problem for Trump, but it's a story that's not being covered.
Then on the second day of his presidency, Donald Trump pardoned Ross Ulbricht, founder of the Silk Road and online black market for drug dealing. The guy took hundreds of millions in commissions on sales of methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and other opioids. You could make a case he was the biggest drug dealer in American history. He was serving 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole when Donald Trump pardoned him unconditionally. On his 3rd day in office, Trump pardoned Washington, D.C. police officer Tara Sutton and Lieutenant Andrew Zabowski. Sutton illegally chased a 20-year-old man on a moped for 10 blocks. He struck another car and died in the crash. The 2 officers then tried to cover up their role in his death. They were sentenced to hard time for obstructing justice. Trump pardoned them, falsely claiming the motorist they had killed was illegal. They have since...
Well, if he's illegal, then you can pardon him. If he's killing illegal people.
It's been reinstated to the D.C. police force. Trump also pardoned former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, convicted on 17 counts of corruption, including an attempt that we all remember and all heard to sell off Barack Obama's former Senate seat. Trump pardoned him using the former Democrat's criminal case as a way to discount...
So, Rod Blagojevich, my wife and I listened to his interview, I think, with Tucker Carlson. And I always liked Rob. Rob was on The Celebrity Apprentice. And he seemed to get a kind of a bogus deal. There was corruption there. He should have been ousted, fired. But, he was in this infamous tape when he said that he was going to get something for this, putting this seat on. But he had the seat. Somebody got hired in Chicago, or it's Barack Obama's former Senate seat. So Barack Obama was senator in Illinois, and Rod Blagojevich was governor. So he had to appoint somebody to take Barack Obama's seat, and he said he wanted to get something for this, right? Whoever he was going to appoint, he wanted to, he said this is golden, or whatever. It's great, just really incriminating. But it's not. He shouldn't still be in jail. You know what I mean? He was he should not be in jail for 20 years for what he did. It's just silly. So, I could see him pardoning this guy.
Period investigations, indictments, and convictions that he faced. He pardoned Brian Kelsey, a Republican former Tennessee state senator, a guy that was 2 weeks into a 21-month sentence for a campaign finance fraud when Trump pardoned him. He illegally funneled nearly $100,000 into a failed congressional campaign. In May, Trump pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley, TV reality stars who were serving federal prison sentences for wire and bank fraud. The lavish lifestyle they flaunted on air was apparently bankrolled by fraudulent bank loans the couple hid from tax authorities. They were two of nearly 24 convicted fraudsters, thieves, and drug dealers Trump pardoned in May. Again, this is way beyond the pace of any president in my lifetime. He also pardoned Trevor Milton. He was the founder of an electric truck company. He was sentenced to federal prison for exaggerating the company's technology, up to and including a fake commercial in which they pushed an immobile model of the truck down a hill to make it look like it could really drive fast.
With all the cameras in place, the director calls action and sends the truck, powered by nothing but gravity. This shell of a truck gathers a big head of steam. By the time it passes the film crew, it's cruising at interstate speed. Beautiful. Cut.
The truck didn't actually...
I don't know how they got that video of the video of the video, right? They got people doing the shooting the video of the truck.
Work. Milton went to jail for it because he defrauded people. Last year, he donated $1.8 million to Donald Trump's campaign, and Trump pardoned him in March. Thanks to that pardon, Milton will not need to compensate his shareholders who lost millions. Now, that is just a partial list of Trump's pardons and commutations since he took office 7 months ago. It's a wild list. It's unlike any list I've ever seen or ever covered. But in that time, he has also got...
The thing about it is with Trump is that it's arbitrary. It's people who praise Trump and, all the things that he's doing, right, with all the people. It's people donate to him or whatever. But, he doesn't have, some, a template of people who are, have somehow been wrongly convicted or whatever it is, right? These are just people who committed crimes and somehow Trump resonates with them. he feels camaraderie with them. And they're the kind of people that Trumpers, for the most part, don't feel any camaraderie with, right? These, elitist people, for the most part. They're people like Trump, the actual Trump, not the imaginary Trump that the Trumpers worship. Like, that's the whole thing about it.
Gone out of his way to accommodate some of the worst accused and convicted criminals you can imagine. Like the manosphere influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate, who have been accused in multiple countries of rape, human trafficking, and sex with minors. In fact, they have been held for 3 years on charges in Romania when allies in the Trump administration worked to have them repatriated to the U.S. And within weeks of being at home, Andrew Tate, who denies the many, many horrible charges against him, faced new legal trouble.
In a civil suit filed in Los Angeles this...
Remember, I covered Andrew Tate. He had this video clip where he was bragging about how he had these girls who he hired to talk to losers online, like, whatever kind of sex chat, and then just fleece them out of their money. And he said the girls didn't know how to seduce a man. And so he would be typing what the girls were supposed to say. So he was talking about how good he was at seducing men. Then I don't know much about him, but he's a total tool, right? And he's one of these manosphere people, and Trump apparently brought him into America, which I wasn't even aware of.
This week, model Bree Stern accusing Tate of sexually assaulting and choking her at the Beverly Hills Hotel earlier this month. Stern sitting down with NBC News from Los Angeles in her first interview about that night.
Talk to me about what was going through your mind in that moment.
I was scared to death. I was terrified that I might die.
Remember, the Trump administration
looks a little bit fake, but still
went out of their way to get the Tates and bring them into the U.S. And it's also important to remember, even as Trump and his aides were falsely accusing hundreds
there's just no reason for Trump to do this, right? Like the people that follow Andrew Tate and all all of it. And it's just, this is not a good thing. Like, this is not something he should have done. It's politically stupid. Like, it's the thing a politician wouldn't do. Go out of his way to take someone who's not an American citizen, who's accused of something in a foreign country. He's originally from England, and then bring him to America, and then anything that he does after that, anything he says that's controversial, Trump owns it. Like, it's just stupid, but he doesn't care because the only thing he likes is keeping his base happy, and there's some part of his base that he's cultivating, these angry men, these insults, who are going to be all about this.
Men, from hairdressers to soccer enthusiasts, of being hardcore MS-13 gang members and disappearing them from the country, that federal prosecutors under Trump are now quietly dropping charges against the actual bona fide leaders of that gang they spent years pursuing and charging. In fact, Trump is actually freeing those gang leaders and sending them to El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. And the Trump administration may be doing it to cover up corruption. According to a New York Times investigation, U.S. prosecutors have amassed substantial evidence of a corrupt pact between the Salvadoran government and some high-ranking MS-13 leaders who they say agreed to drive down violence and bolster Bukele politically in exchange for cash and perks in jail. Don't forget, Trump also intervened on the behalf of a man named Dahoud Hanid Ortiz, a U.S. Venezuelan dual citizen who returned here as part of that prisoner swap from Venezuela last month. This individual was convicted of bludgeoning 3 people to death in an office in Spain where he was looking for a man he suspected of sleeping with his ex-girlfriend. He murdered 3 people, according to Venezuelan courts. He was charged in Madrid. He was brought back to the U.S. and freed by Donald Trump. According to the most recent reporting, whereabouts unknown, just out in the country. And then, of course, there's Ghislaine Maxwell, the Palm Beach socialite who recruited and groomed young women for child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Many of Epstein's accusers say Maxwell also abused them personally. She knows as much as anyone alive about Epstein's depraved crimes and his associates, and the Trump administration moved her to a minimum security prison against existing federal prison policy, giving her an extraordinary waiver to be in a prison she couldn't be in because she's a sex offender. After interviewing her for 2 days and getting her on tape saying she never saw Donald Trump be anything but a perfect gentleman.
So, I was going to talk about this today because after covering the Ghislaine thing for like 3 days, just think about this, right? That the Trump himself and the Trump administration, and we'll get into some of his stupidity here in a second, where he's painting the wall black. I'll show you this video clip in a second here. But the Trump administration and Trump himself has decided the best way to exonerate him is to get Ghislaine Maxwell to vouch for him. I mean, and then give her a gift. Like, do something nice for her. Like, he thinks that's the best way to exonerate himself. Like, he's so desperate that he said, all right, let's interview her. And, some part of it is the Democrats might subpoena her in 2 years when they control the House and the Senate, or whatever it might be. And so she might then say something different about Trump if it's the Democrats or whatever. Of course, Trump still had the power to pardon her. And so whatever. But they wanted to get to her first. Because people are like, all right, let's, now that this list has come out, or the list didn't come out, and the information isn't coming out, and Trump isn't doing what so many of his people in his cabinet and his son promised would be done, what about Ghislaine Maxwell? Why is she in prison? If this is a nothing burger, when these people came out, Kash Patel, I mean, he was going on these podcasts and talking about how the list was sitting in the office of the FBI and he knew it was there, and now he's the guy who's got access to that list, and there is no list, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't suicide himself, even though he said he said the opposite on different places. And then Pam Bondi comes out and says there's nothing here. And they all, look like hypocrites and liars, and they're covering up for Trump. And Trump looks so fucking guilty. He decides to align with Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, all these other things that this guy just covered, they're, different levels of, the MS-13 thing and all these things that Trump says, do as I say, not as I do, right? So Trump is reversing himself on all these things, when you look into it. And this is what mainstream media can now do because Trump is such a bad liar. And the people that follow him are so fucking stupid, which I believe many of them aren't really following him anymore. Like and someone left a comment about this, which I want to talk about because I agree with it. I think he's lost a lot of followers and they don't care. They're just pretending he has them. And the polls are always questionable, but I think Trump doesn't have anything anymore. Like, I think he's lost his base, at least a good portion of them. And the ones who matter, the smarter ones, like Trump is just going after stupid people. But for him to partner with Ghislaine Maxwell and go out and say that she has vindicated him, like she's the worst of the worst, like nobody in the right mind would do that. You want to distance yourself from Ghislaine Maxwell. But he said, I wished her well, and then he does this other thing. And so it just shows you how clueless he is. He's usually understands what the people want him to say. Like he knows what the crowd wants to hear. But he's got a blind spot here because, he's up to his neck in Jeffrey Epstein fucking, he is the big fish in this thing, right?
These are the criminal, an unbelievable list of people who have done truly awful things, most of them convicted felons, some accused of doing truly awful things. Each one of these alone would be a scandal that wrecked another administration. Do you remember the single Willie Horton ad in 1988? And all that list of all these people, MS-13 kingpins, people convicted of a triple homicide, a woman who's the accomplice of the most notorious sex trafficker in American.
Okay, buddy, what's a biggie? It's okay, Beaker.
They all come from the man who claims he's undoing American carnage, fixing a rampant crime problem.
All right, so, you know, the news gets to do this to Trump because Trump sucks, right? He's everything that, you know, they wanted him to be. So my wife and I are watching a documentary, which I'm going to cover tomorrow, is about Cleveland crime, or Ohio crime. And it's the stupidity of the voters. It's how stupid they think people are. I'm going to have a couple of ads I have to copy with my phone. And they're really bad. But it's this corruption. But it kind of speaks to this whole thing with Trump. And here's another indication here. Watch this thing here.
Resources and our individuals and our agents that are out here on duty day and night making sure that America is safe. Remember that a nation without borders is no nation at all.
No nation at all if you don't have your borders.
We're so thankful that we have a president that understands that and understands that a secure border is...
It's just the way she's dressed up and these guys with their hard hats. Like, it's like fucking, it's like Village People stuff, right? I guess start singing Macho Man like this thing, and then she dressed up and she always has these outfits. Like she's like Department of Homeland Security Barbie, and she puts out an outfit of whatever. You know, instead of wearing what like a politician would wear, she dresses up in the uniform of in this case, like a Border Patrol person, right?
Important to our country's future. Now, if you look at the structure that's behind me, it's tall, which makes it very, very difficult to climb, almost impossible. It also goes deep into the ground, which would make it very difficult, if not impossible, to dig under. And today, we are also going to be painting it black. That is specifically at the request of the president, who understands that in the hot temperatures down here, when something is painted black, it gets even warmer, and it will make it even harder for people to climb. So we...
Holy shit, like this is how stupid it is. This is how stupid it is. And this is the kind of stuff they're pushing out on Fox News. I mean, this is a Fox News thing where they're, you know, the Fox News people are like, hey, that makes sense. Let's install this black paint. You know, my wife was saying, I showed this to her, she was saying, I wonder if they're, you know, Trump has a deal with the paint company and there's some ways of you know, laundry money kickback kind of thing. I'm like, why don't we get Hunter Biden to paint it, right? And then auction it off. And so, you know, they're saying that it's hot in Mexico. And so the sun's going to beat down on this metal wall, making it, you know, that's something that might burn your hands if you touched it. I don't know how anybody would climb it the way that it is now, you know, but you just get a ladder, right? I mean, whatever, if people want to go over it, you get a ladder and, you know, whatever way you jump off the other side. But, you know, the whole thing is silly to paint it black thinking, well, you know, it's hot now. But if we paint it black, it's either going to be hot or they're going to waste us all this Rust-Oleum. And, you know, the paint doesn't last. Like, you know, I think if you made it black, it would make it like, did you actually look into that? Like, what would be the effects in terms of the cost of painting this wall? And I don't know how much the wall there is, but there's a lot of it. And how much it would cost to paint it, how much the American taxpayers would be on the hook for this thing. It's just fucking stupid, right? The president knows.
It's painted black, it gets even warmer, and it will make it even harder for people to climb. So we are going to be painting the entire southern border wall black to make sure that we encourage individuals to not come into our country illegally, to not break our federal...
So, Jesus. Fucking... Okay, so, you know, there's just the dumb fuckery continues, and it's on both sides. Again, I'm going to cover this thing from Ohio, which is kind of a, you know, stunner. Talking about the stupidity of people. But here's Don Lemons talking about Trump's health issues.
We'll leave it there. Jason Lee, Hollywood Unlocked. You'll be following it. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you joining us.
Hollywood Unlocked. Peace out, bro.
Bye. Peace out. Thank you, Jason.
Peace out.
So
I didn't know he was going to say that.
Oh, Jason has spoken. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think it's, to me, it looks like a mental health issue, but yeah. Was he by himself? And who were the people in the car? And the street there was nobody there in LA. Interesting. Okay, so let's talk about what's on the thumbnail this morning. This is, these pictures really alarmed and alerted people to an issue with Donald Trump. Do you have the issue of his hands? You've seen that?
Bruising, boom. Like with AI fakery and all this stuff out there. And, I mean, Trump's team could be putting stuff out just so people will feel bad for him. Or, I don't cover stuff like this because, there's no way to know.
Often there's makeup on them. And then you have his ankles, or what people are calling his cankles.
They're calling him cankles? No fucking way. Cankles? Cankles? Todd, cankles?
From Donald Trump, swollen.
Cankles.
And then the appearance of his skin. Look at those. Those were the original things that people were talking about.
The cankles, Todd. Fucking cankles, bro.
And so to wonder about, look at that.
Look at that fucking bruising of his hand.
The health of a president of the United States is warranted. His skin does not look good under all that orange paint. Look how pale he is. So who knows what's going on with him?
I mean, he's got cankles, for Christ's sake, Don.
After people started noticing this and talking about it, they could not ignore the outpouring of questions and people wanting to know.
About his cankles.
Levitt eventually stepped to the podium and said this.
I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House Medical
Drink it up, Don.
Unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies.
So it's a real thing because they are now. He's got vascular studies.
Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition.
Oh, we covered this before that he had venous he's got venous insufficiency, not penis insufficiency. But the two things go in common because it's blood flow, right? So we know Trump is limp dick.
Particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel,
Mild swelling is an understatement.
coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified.
And I believe everything Caroline says.
Additionally,
Francis Skaggs. Come on, Francis.
recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is
Don Lemon. Any medical professionals in the house? Is this Don Lemon himself or some person calling himself Don Lemon? From handshaking? His bruising is from handshaking? He's getting bruised from handshaking. Are you fucking shitting me? That's what your story is?
a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis.
Now, after she said that, in excellent health. Okay, interesting. Any medical professionals in the house? to know. And then someone also said mild bruising is an understatement, or mild swelling is an understatement.
Just read those comments, Tom, because they're fucking brilliant.
I agree with that. That's not mild. And so it has been, I have seen reports and I have seen posts of other people speculating, saying, is he dying?
Well, we're all dying, Don. He's getting old. Donald Trump is clearly falling apart. I'm going to cover his cabinet meeting probably in my next video. The one where he talked about being a dictator. And the guy is not mentally there anymore. He's having issues, you can see. And, 3 years of president aging. He's already done 4 years. And he's going to be the oldest president, surpassing Joe Biden by the time he's done. And so, and he eats McDonald's food. He's not a, may or may not be a drug addict, addicted to Adderall and other shit. And so, it's all right there. It's all concern. It's all happening. It all can happen. But we'll see what happens. Right? Like, these are things that you would expect for someone his age. Like, this is why you retire. You're physically falling apart. And the schedule that a president has to keep, the stress and the, just the bad living and lies and stuff, everything catches up to you. And so he's falling apart because he's too old to be president. Given all the other factors with him. He's been obese for years. And so he's got health issues. He's got cankles. Anyways, let's go to the comments here. My comments. Okay, so I got so many comments from yesterday. We'll start with the order in which they came in. This one. Hey, Paul, everything after we've seen in the last 10 years, anyone who's still caught up with the left-right paradigm is completely fucktard and beyond hope. Thank you for another upload. We are grateful. I want to talk about this. There's several comments about this here, right? But, the stupidity of people, and I'm going to cover it. I'm going to feature this also in my next video. The dumbing down of people. And, okay, so I went for a walk with my wife, and, I'll continue on with the stupidity stuff here because there's more. Let me get to these other comments because there's a lot of them. But this one here, someone writes, Paul, can I do heartfulness sittings on replay of videos? Is there transmission? Thank you. Thank you. Well, heartfulness is a bogus thing. I don't know if people can feel transmission in the sittings that are on videos for heartfulness with Dodgy, but my channel is called Gratefullness, the channel that I do sittings and, or the sittings flow through me. And the sittings are not in the videos. It's a weird thing. The video, my computer can't record a sitting. The software on it cannot record a sitting. The audio, whatever it is, can't record a sitting. And so it comes from a different plane of existence. But the answer is yes, you can do the sittings multiple times. But they're not to be done like on a daily basis. Like, the sittings should be once or twice a week, and then there's intensive sittings, 3 in one day, one for 3 days, 3 sittings in one day, one for 3 days to get introduced, intensive sittings, one sitting a day for 7 days. That can be done maybe 2 a day, depending on your schedule. But the sittings can be done over and over again, so that's the answer to the question. I enjoy listening to you while I play video games. Okay. I thought that was funny. So this is a video. MAGA Trumpers, #1 sex trafficking pedo Ghislaine Maxwell just said Trump is innocent. Blah, blah, blah. How do you expose the filth when you're not in the satanic den? God bless President Trump. So this person's saying that you have to be in the satanic den to expose it. And you don't. You don't have to be in the satanic den. He's not exposing it. He's covering for Jeffrey Epstein. He is the satanic den, right? I mean, Trump is a demon. If, maybe he's working for God because, God wants the system destroyed. but it's not like he's not an angel. He's not some higher developed soul that's doing it for the benefit of all. To the same video, I think a large amount of pro-Trumper comments on BooTube or Instagram or social media are bot comments. I think he's lost a fair amount of his base. Most people are really not into protecting pedo rings and paying more for everything from groceries or insurance or everything in between. That's why Trump's going full dictator, martial law and all. Yeah, it's hard to say. There's no really way to gauge it, but I know there are people who, at least my wife knows or talks to, that are Trumpers that are still on board because they don't, people don't find out this information. People aren't curious. They're not really following it. And so people don't really know what the terrorists are doing. And, so there's lots of Trumpers who are like that. And then they get their news from Trumpers like Laura Loomer or, Fox News. And so they don't hear any of this other stuff. And so, I don't know. Like, I don't know what his numbers are, but it doesn't matter because he's not running for re-election. Then somebody writes, where does your power come from? I didn't know I had any power, so I don't know where it comes from. It's not the video. Trump's friend Ghislaine Maxwell says Epstein scandal is a witch hunt created by something. I don't have the full title there, but I thought that was funny. I'm not aware of having any power. You mean the transmission comes from, the source, God, and, that's not my power. Paul, you know this, but the thing that won't get rewarded or sought after in huge numbers is pressing a counter narrative in a way that doesn't discredit the points of the counter narrative with sensationalistic style or careless assumptions that can easily be discredited by the mainstream. The points you take on are not ones that our system want to catch on because that makes sense, that they make sense and are not hard and are hard to argue against. Some of us dig it though. Please hang in there for as long as you can, as long as you care to. Thanks. Well, I'll always make videos why I think I'm supposed to. The money being down and the view count being down and all these things, it's depressing. Not that I'm depressed, but, it's like fighting a losing battle. But it's not why I make videos. I mean, obviously, it's a job, so I have to get paid. So, whatever. But, I agree with what this person says because it's the sensationalistic dopes that they target and pull out there. So let's go to this one. I want to say I tried to share your energy, info, knowledge, and guidance with a few others. I think people, not all, are kind of locked into the familiarity of what they know. The unknown is scary to many, but I hope you don't give up sharing the message for the ones who are listening and trying to do the right thing. Former CIA agent says Ghislaine Maxwell has fully exonerated innocent Trump on Fox News. And so let me close with what I was going to say to that one. Here's one more here. What's your problem? Don't you know that plenty of the people fly to all kinds of remote, exotic locations to go to church? I almost banned this person, but that's actually a funny comment. Because I didn't understand it at first, because that I didn't get to these comments for a couple of days. But Ghislaine Maxwell said that Jeffrey Epstein would be abusing girls, and he would be doing that, and the other people would be going to church or whatever. Like the people like the Clintons and people traveling with him, they would go do their thing, normal things, while Jeffrey Epstein was getting a massage from an underage girl. And she mentioned like going to church, and it was hilarious. So that person's comment is kind of funny because, you people flying to Epstein Island to go to church. I mean, you think there's a church on Epstein Island? I mean, Epstein was Jewish and worked for Mossad, but, whatever. And so to the answer to the previous comment and some of these other ones, there's a great section from Master Chargy, the third master of the Sizemore system. And I think it's in the book My Master about, the second master, Babaji. And he writes about how in India there is two types of spiritual worship, right? The one is you make deals with gurus that don't, like the guru said he's going to perform this spiritual ritual for you and that you're going to get this spiritual gift because of it. whatever it is, right? And or you'll get a mantra, or you'll get, any number of things, and it doesn't lead to anything, right? And you're a part of an authoritative system where there's all these rules and social aspects of it, and it's mostly performative. It's like fake titles. It's like my brother and I were walking by, or driving by, or walking by a martial arts studio. I think we were walking by it. It had all these trophies in the window, and my brother said, when you open up like a dojo, the first thing you do is go to Mr. Trophy, right? Get yourself some trophies made. But it's like these fake things, right? Like Elvis having a black belt. It's just these fake titles and things that you can tell the people that you have it. It's like getting an award or something. It's not real. It doesn't mean anything. It's just, it's window dressing. But it's very structured, and it's very, like a social kind of bragging right type of thing. And there's a lot of, these pressures socially that these people who choose that path are a part of, and it's all controlled. And then there's the spiritual path where you can connect to God directly and have infinite results. And as much as you work for it, as much as you are participating in, especially in the Seismic system, but even then, just doing it on your own, is based in your effort and work and your relationship with God. And you have a direct relationship with God. And he lamented how the majority of people want to take the first path. The second path has been available in India a lot longer than other places. And they have, all this religious stuff and all this, all these things, all these rituals, all these, social things like, the gossip in church and all the pressures and all the bullshit that goes along with it. And people just want to tie themselves to institutions, have an institution take care of them. That's why people can't leave behind, medical practices or whatever that are shitty and the rest of it. And so, it's an interesting observation on his part. And that is in a place where that pushes spirituality, because everyone in India has to have, and not now, in modern times it's a little different. But, almost everyone in older times, certainly up to the 1980s, even the 2000s, 90s maybe to some extent, it's starting to fade. And now with the internet, it's more so. And there's more Western influences in India. But the majority of people have to have some kind of religious, spiritual practice. Being an atheist is a rare thing in India. And being somebody who doesn't have any kind of a guru or any kind of a, people seek these gurus. There's a guru culture in India. Everybody has a guru or spiritual master. They have all these things. And so they have to do something. And so they have the choice of doing something that drains their bank account and doesn't do anything for them spiritually, but ties them to some kind of institution and something that's legitimate, or going off on their own and finding a guru who is a legitimate guru that helps them to connect to God directly, which has always been available in India, not so much here in the Western part of the world. It's very prevalent there, and people just don't choose it. They just want to be told what to think and what to do, and they just want to submit to some higher authority. And that's how people are in general. Very few people want to be independent thinkers, and you see it in the truth community. There's different threads and different veins, different, like not a vein like a, like a thread, different sects of truthers that have these different type of, mindsets. So they have this dogma, of course, the QBs and the flat earthers, and then, all the rest of them. And, people say black pilled and these different, people have their different dogmas. And when you start questioning some of the fundamental building blocks of the truth community, which are, have been disinformation and bullshit things, people get pissed off and they fall, they want to, chastise you in some way and all this stuff, because people want to tie themselves to institutions. It's a sad thing, but it's there for everyone to see, right? It's just there. And this is where the dumb stuff comes from, because people just want to group up. Very few people want to be, critical thinkers. Very few people want to think for themselves. And I talk about how exhausting it is to read the ingredients. And so this is why all these things are in play. And, the powers that be like to support these institutionalized thinking and have these groups of people. Like, so they want all the truthers to be Alex Jonesy people, like right-wing nut jobs, right? So they can put them in a category and they can group everybody together, right? They don't want to have people who are outside of the box because they create the boxes for a fucking reason. The boxes are there so they can control different demographics. They can throw you a bone or rile you up or do whatever they need to do as a demographic. And all the people will then act out in a certain way or be pacified in another way based on what the system needs. It's a way they can control all the people and they can just push these buttons. But if you're not somebody who subscribes to being a liberal or Democrat or a Republican or a conservative or any of these things, or this truther and that truther, but you just are looking for the truth, then it's something they can't control because you're not a like an easily predictable demographic that can be worked in one way or another. So they perpetuate this, these institutionalized way of thinking, group think, in the way that they do their algorithms or anything else, right? And, it's when you're outside the box is when things can go south. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely born for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.